Hi, how
Finally,
are you?
I asked you, how am I going to connect? And finally, yes, oh my
And
goodness, I'm such an old-fashioned and old.
no, you're not at all. I know you're not as much into Instagram as you are
Yeah, I'm not on
Facebook.
Instagram,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah, but it's okay. Okay,
good.
I'm fine. Yeah.
You're
So,
here. You're here, and we're gonna have our little chat and catch up. It's been a
yeah.
long time since Blue Zone, so it's good to see your face. So, how are you? How are you doing with everything?
Well, it's been a shock, actually. Sometimes I pinch myself to feel if it's some nightmare what we were experiencing those weeks.
Yeah,
Well, it's not that bad in my country as the government took some measurements that allowed us to. Uh, I mean, we are at the end. We are passing through without so many damages.
right.
But it's still so hard and stiff and so sometimes devastating because watching all those things in the TV, you feel that you live in another world. Anyway,
Yeah,
we
no,
try
you
to
do. You feel
separate
like
those things.
it's so surreal and that it's a part of a movie. And when I
Exactly.
last saw you in Blue Zone, the beginning of February, that's when it was just starting to come in a little bit into Italy. And you had all the precautions in Munich at Blue Zone and making recommendations for people. But I mean, I never thought we would be in this situation where now we're our fifth week into having, work
Definitely,
from
yeah,
home.
definitely not. Well, I must say that uh, every day is a new experience still for us. There are so many, conspiracy theories around, but I'm just trying to focus and concentrate on things that makes me feel better. And for instance, okay, after all this hard situation, we must act, and I am prepared. Somehow I think that the day after will be somehow soon, and we have to learn living with a problem.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. We have to learn how to cope with this and the changes. I was sort of relating and being in New York, this comes up a lot about 9/11 as, a devastating time for the city, but also how this is. And, there's this a lot of campaigns about New York tough and what we go through here. And when you look back in 9/11, and I think that tragedy and the innocence of, people that were impacted very much parallels the innocence of people who also catch COVID-19. But when you think about how it changed us as a society, prior to 9/11, we would walk on an airplane 20 minutes in advance and you'd walk around buildings and everything else in New York City. And now how much security came after 9/11, where photo IDs and checks and everything. So
yeah.
how will we change from our sense of security of health after this time too.
I think that we living things that we, we wouldn't believe that it should happen because we have watched them only in the movies.
Yeah,
But I think that
yeah,
all those scenarios somehow it's like Jules Verne, the science fiction writer who predicted the trip to the moon or all those things that finally happened. I think that all those script writers somehow they have an intuition,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think it becomes the new normality. I remember 5 years ago that I was talking the first time I heard about the word disruption after despite the weather. It's not only about weather, but actually it's something that we have to learn to live from the sudden, the incidents, the accidental, and all those things that, of course, some of them, we can not predict them, but we can be prepared somehow.
Right, right. Yeah, this preparedness and everything. So, so Panos, but everything in Greece then, you're pretty much shut down, only restaurants and for takeout and grocery stores? What's the situation in Greece?
Well, it's normal. I suppose that, as I told you, the precautions were a lot
Yeah,
that allow us to live normally. But
right.
the only thing that has really concerns us and, of course, the government is that we are going to be suffer from a recession that definitely will be worse than the one that we had at the last one we faced.
Right,
That started in 2009,
right.
and now we are facing those things for about 10 years. I think it's like it's like a bad situation that will bring us back to the basics, I suppose. And it's not us only. I think most of the countries that have been attacked by this, the COVID-19, will suffer from a recession.
Oh yes, without a doubt. I mean, the jobs loss. You've read the headlines in the United States. I mean, we're 330 million people here, and 16 million people filed for unemployment in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
This devastation not only from a health, but your own well-being and your sense of your own finances, personal finances. And this will of course shift so much of the consumer, buying habits too. Um,
This is exactly what I was thinking, because I remember our discussions and our all those panels we had
yeah,
about. We were talking about the change of habits of the consumer habits and so on, and somehow I don't know, we have predicted the future without knowing that this should attack us, should be the virus, but actually it's not COVID-19, but it's actually a new need, a new lifestyle that we have to admit that it's over. I think it's the end, as I heard from our friend Adriano, that said
yeah.
that probably this is the end of fast fashion.
Right, right. Yeah, I think Adriano had some very good points, and also Lee Edelcourt, who you always have at Munich Fabric Start at Blue Zone. I think some of her future, ideas, I don't want to say predictions, I don't really want to say trends, but her ideas of how this will shape and change, I thought she had some very good comments.
Yeah, I think that it's time to be frank and honest to our mates and the community. Must say that all those tricks about seasons in denim, for instance, it's nothing but a gimmick. It's nothing but something that we have to. It's not a season.
Yeah,
Actually, we are dividing in incredible parts the buying seasons, because the big chains that we wish to get profit from what they do in special promotion, and they're lowering prices that probably they do not exist prices, and because everything is so artificial. I read a statement by Giorgio Armani in Women's Wear Daily that he says exactly the same thing, that everything started when we started seeing in the windows of the stores 5 months before seasonal goods, or not 4 months
right.
before.
Yeah, yeah. It got way out of hand, and we've been talking about these changes that needed to happen, but I think this accelerates it
Precisely.
at such a
Yeah,
pace
yeah.
that we'll be able to hopefully regroup and start over. Unfortunately, we know that will also mean many changes for companies who perhaps will not be able to survive this from a financial perspective. There's all kinds of speculation in the press here of certain retailers in the United States who, don't have the liquidity to get through this time.
Yeah, it's definitely a big issue. And
Yeah,
sorry to say that, maybe it's against in our job, but we have to understand that we cannot pretend anymore that we will go back to the big volumes and we will not go back to the big profits. It's something
right,
that we have to admit that we are going to face a new reality that has to do with moderate consumption, something that has to do with the real needs of the consumer. And believe it or not, there are maybe there are some other parts of the planet that will continue consuming the underdeveloped countries. Probably, I don't know what's going to happen, but about us, about the Western world, I think it's a new era
right.
where we are called to create a new path that we will be able to move. That's why in our show we have been already prepared to demonstrate how the future model of buyer should work. And this is our job, actually. As you know, we are preparing to be probably the first show after this
Yeah,
happens.
I thought that was very interesting last week. It was a very bold move, I think, to say, hey, we are here. We understand things are going to change, and we hope in the next couple of weeks, as I think that's a determining time. But it was kind of, for me, when I saw that, it was sort of the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little restless here. Thank God my family were all safe and healthy. And, we want to support those who are putting so much of themselves out there to help and to fight. But also we want to connect. I miss seeing people in person. And I was really glad to see that you took that stand. Was that something that was difficult for Munich Fabric Start and Blue Zone, or how did you guys come about putting that together?
We are 100% confident that whatever happens, we will be ready to face it, and if the world will come back, and if the market will thoroughly open, as we hear that they are trying to restart it. I mean, Austria has already starting. Even in Italy, they are
Yeah,
trying to open the market. In Spain, I think we have plenty of time to organize ourselves. And what we have now, for us, is a big challenge is to really help the community to resolve the most difficult problems that they are facing up to now. Actually, first of all, it's the first contact of it's going to be with mask and gloves, or even in an area in a space that the stands will be more let's say less dense as a show.
right,
But we are called to find those solutions in order to make things work.
right.
And this is our um, optimistic part, which I used to say lately about the optimism.
Optimism. I love
Yeah, optimism.
optimism.
Actually, it's
Yeah.
a gimmick word.
No, 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 it's not gimmick.
It came after
It's
the echoism,
yeah.
and we like those things, because we wish to inspire people.
I
This,
know, I know.
yeah, this
Yeah. And
hybrid word has to
right,
do with the hope, which is actually something we all must have. But
right.
optimism is something that we also have to cultivate. So we created this story. You will see, we're going to launch it. It's a beautiful graphic
Yeah.
where we have a book that is written, the word over on it is written the word optimism. Is somehow we are trying to rewrite the book of Denim,
Okay.
and try to make a Magna Carta in the future that will allow us also to be sustainable in reality, in
Right.
real. It's something that we have to also to think about.
Well, and I love coming to Blue Zone, and I always feel so inspired. And I think again, it's great to hear all this preparation that you're putting into the show in order to kind of regroup. You're capturing the mood and helping people process all of this. I mean, look, that's why we are chatting today. I think as we've gone through this whole period over the past 5 weeks, at least here in New York City, is that we have to start to kind of mentally get through it, and how do we come out? And that's why I think optimism is a perfect word. And
I, I'm
so
so
I
glad you
really,
like it.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I know there's a long road ahead. I know that there'll be changes, but I'm glad to see that the Blue Zone is looking to be that leadership in the market to kind of take everyone to the next step.
Absolutely. Our aim is not to be, I mean, I think it's just selfish to think that we are the only show that is trying to do good things. I'm sure that the other trade shows are preparing. I heard about Kingpins. They're doing a great job, those guys, because we really appreciate them. But we feel that in those hard times, we have to be together. There
Yeah.
is a call of togetherness. I mean, I think there must not be anymore this, pursuit. Who is going to have more customers or more visitors? The who is going to make them feel more, let's say, secured. It's the call now. I mean, this is the big challenge. We have to create the environment for them.
Right.
And we have also to take this responsibility to try to make them understand what is the new ethic, what is the new sense. We have to be to feel more empathy about our surrounding. It's something that we owe.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The empathy, I think, we've been talking for many years, many seasons about sustainability for the environment. I think, social responsibility coming out of this will be even stronger. And
Absolutely.
we have to look at our impacts as we're interconnected, and what's happening to factories in Bangladesh and people in India and Pakistan because of the choices that are being made here in the West.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that you're right. I mean, we have to help people get through this time with the empathy that's needed to go forward.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and I think it's our last chance. I will say that. I don't know, but somehow I feel that this autocorrection, it seems like so like that. But I mean, the planet is trying to correct itself. But we humans,
yeah,
we are ignoring this. I don't. Excuse me to feel a bit, to sound a bit funny, but I think it's something that we have received so many messages in the past, and even though no, all those industrial countries that really ignore their, their responsibility about the climate change, it is incredible. So
yeah,
it's not statistically measured that it's just happens. It's a cycle that happens every 2,000 years. We have an increase of the temperature and melting of the poles. No, it's not this. We have to be,
right,
realistic that the things happen because of us. We did a
right.
lot of bad things, and it's not. Sorry, I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not an activist, but somehow we must act like that.
Yeah.
We have a
Yes, no, for
chance.
sure. I think, the changes, and we are kind of redefining what sustainability means. I mean, for me in New York, my highlight is when I can go out for a walk during the day. And, it's been interesting watching spring kind of blossom the past couple of weeks, and the changes that normally
Yeah.
I don't really pay much attention to. So this awareness now that we have when we're taken out of our normal routine, it will really be a change. And I like how you're saying about the denim community coming together, and that
Yeah.
importance there too. So I love what you've put together with Hopetimism. And, Panos, I love how you combine words, ecoism. I'm actually wearing my ecoism shirt from the last
Oh,
show for you.
beautiful.
And there's been other words that you've combined and put together. So I took a shot at putting some words together because you inspire me, Panos. So I don't know how you come up with this, but I put some thought into it and came up with safe newel, which is about safety and renewal. Human tection, human and
Wow.
protection. These are things you
Wow.
might be thinking about. You know, inspective, like this whole human perspective perspective that comes into this time. So I don't know what other words you're kind of like a cook in a kitchen, and you combine different ingredients and you combine words. But what other combinations are you thinking of, Panos?
Well, recently we had another one with my friends
Yeah.
with of Navina. We did together the generosity.
Yes.
Uh, Generosity from the genes. Actually, it's an emotional. I mean, it's an emotional issue. Denim is usually connected with those emotions, and I think we are going to be invited to play the same role as from the very beginning. I think it was the first workwear. Now I think denim is going to serve as the smartest fabric, as the one that is going to protect and maybe heal the wearers. I think it's my feeling that denim is not going to be anymore an object of extreme fashion.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be any sexist object. I think
Right.
from now on we have seen almost everything. So I think it's about time to see denim with special functions, denim with healing properties, denim with protecting properties, because more or less we know that we're going to live in extreme weather conditions, high temperatures or low temperatures. So
Right.
the fiber industry, like cleansing, for instance, did this since a long time. I remember the first wellness denim we did in Royo. So this
Yes.
reminds me that I mean the future is already done and it's already here. So what we actually live is the future, and we have to admit that from now on we have to think a bit more faster about the next role of denim. I know that you're working on things like that in Lansing, and
Yes.
I'm very happy that you have really admitted that early. So this is the next thing. We are going to face a lot of challenges about new products and different end users.
Yes, I agree with you. Different end uses as the consumer's mood changes. I think also, the comfort that people feel because of when you look back
Precisely.
on
Yeah.
denim, your favorite pair of jeans, and how is that kind of reinvented?
Yeah.
And, denim represents that democracy. And this is where I think, as a society, where we are. But I agree with
Mm-hmm.
you. And there's many things I think that have already were probably before their time, that we've been
Oh
talking
yes,
about.
thanks to the Key House, our
Yes.
place where the innovation happens in Munich. This section, I think it's more and more is going to become more important. I'm
Yeah.
convinced.
Yes. No, I think so too. And Panos, so what are you doing during your time here, your creative time? This is very inspiring for you.
Whoa, you don't know. Actually, I'm watching a lot of documentaries about some of the BBC documentaries about the planets. I am reading a lot of things that I didn't have time to read.
Yeah.
Actually, reading some. You will be laughing. I mean, I have a magazine which is called Chemical Engineering, and talks about the the future of circular economy. More and more, I am getting more familiar with things that I've been thrilled in the beginning.
Yeah.
I heard about them, but now I understand that this is the one and only way. And so this keeps me so excited because I'm sure that after the end of this horrific thing, we will be plenty of ideas to start using and involving more on things that have to do with the future of our industry.
Yeah. Yes. No, I mean, I think this hibernation and the creativity that can spark out of it will be very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
What about
also
you? What about you?
Well, I've been taking the time. I feel like I get very interested in a lot of these webinars. I do have to say I feel like the days are a little bit longer, trying to keep up with everything here. But
Yeah.
I have brought out some books and caught up on some magazines that I didn't have time to read before and that were piling up. So that
Same.
was very good. And I finally think that this spring I'm going to plant some flowers. So I'm trying to take some more time to be
Whoa.
outside. Yeah, I normally don't do that.
Gardening is fantastic. I'm not.
Yeah.
We have some balconies, but the weather here is not. Believe me, it's not the ideal one. Today
Oh,
is raining. It's a very it's overcasted, and we are waiting to get better in a few
yeah.
days because we have the Greek Orthodox
You have
Easter
your
this
Easter
week.
coming up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So that's,
Which we will celebrate in house because Greeks usually go out and make those you know things with we call it souvlates. We're cooking meat on the grill,
oh,
but
okay.
this time it's going to be all made by the oven.
Oh, all right. So adapting a little bit for your traditions there. So,
Yeah, we
yes.
have lots of things.
Yeah. Well, Panos, it was good to catch up. I look forward to hearing more about your plans for Blue Zone. I have
Well,
that as my vision of September, and
yeah,
we will have a lot to get through in that meantime. But it was good to catch up, and I wish you well. Stay healthy, you and your family, and we'll be chatting for sure online.
definitely. Thank you very much for this invitation. Actually, I felt a bit depressed, inside of me. I wanted to take out all those feelings that I have in my mind those days because I'm expressing myself a bit, strange sometimes,
Yeah.
man. But I feel that again, we have to be very hopeful. We have to be very confident, and we have to see the future uh, better under the circumstances we are going to work.
Yeah.
It's in our hands.
Right. No, it is in our hands for
Yeah.
sure. Thank you. On that note, Panos, have a good afternoon. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All
You have a
right.
nice day.
Okay. Bye
Okay. Take
bye.
care. Bye bye.